Since the beginning of time, humans have spoken as if their words carried weight. And maybe that wasn't just poetic. Maybe it was literal. Long before we had dictionaries and grammar books, our ancestors believed that words had life. In ancient Egypt, language wasn't just communication, it was a force. The priests didn't speak carelessly. Every utterance, every chant, every name was infused with sacred purpose. They called their magical speech hekau, words of power, not metaphors. Actual vibrational forces that could bend reality if spoken with precision, and they weren't alone. In the Hindu tradition, sound itself, nada Brahma, is God. The universe, they said, didn't begin with a bang, it began with a sound, a vibration, Om, the syllable of creation. Meanwhile, the Hebrews guarded their alphabet like a divine artifact. Each letter wasn't just a symbol, it was a spiritual engine. They believed that God spoke the world into existence, not built it, spoke it, and somewhere along the way, we forgot. Today, words are cheap. They're text messages, they're sarcasm, they're background noise. We scroll past them, speak without thinking, write without presence. And yet, even in our forgetfulness, words continue to shape the very fabric of our being. We don't throw bricks randomly and call it architecture, but we throw words around like they're nothing, never realizing they're building something far more permanent than a wall, our perception. You see, the ancients weren't just mystics, they were linguists of the soul. They knew that language isn't passive. It doesn't just describe reality, it directs it. So the question is, what are you directing with your words? Because buried under centuries of misuse is a secret we've all inherited, but few have explored. The power of language not to explain life, but to create it. If thoughts are seeds, then words are the water that makes them grow. Think about it. Every time you say something, even casually, your body listens, your mind absorbs, your identity adjusts. Say, I'm always tired, and watch how your energy mirrors that decree. Say, I'm just bad at relationships, and your nervous system starts to agree. You're not just expressing a mood, you're setting a direction, laying blueprints, installing beliefs. And here's the strange part. Your subconscious doesn't care whether what you say is true. It only cares that you say it often. It doesn't analyze, it doesn't argue, it doesn't fact-check. It receives and obeys. That's why a child told, "You're stupid," repeatedly will carry that script well into adulthood, even if they grow up to be a genius. It's not the truth that takes root, it's the repetition, the emotional charge, the belief beneath the words. Words are not just a way of revealing what you think, they're a way of rehearsing who you become. Every I am statement is a command, not just a comment. Every casual remark, a blueprint for what your future self will expect, accept, and embody. And just like an architect wouldn't sketch a building in crayon, why do we sketch our self-worth in sloppy, careless language? When you say, "I'll never make it," your subconscious files that away as a design note. When you whisper, "I'm not enough," your cells lean in and say, "All right, let's make that our reality." It's not dramatic, it's mechanical, and it's happening every single day. What you speak becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes what you expect, and what you expect becomes what you live. So ask yourself, are you building a palace with your words or a prison? Because the truth is, you're already speaking your future into existence. The only question is, what kind of future are you building? Every word you speak is made of sound, and every sound is a vibration. That's not philosophy, that's physics. When you speak, you're not just moving air, you're disturbing space. You're sending ripples into the field around you, waves of resonance that have direction, intensity, and frequency. And these frequencies don't vanish. They interact with people, with matter, with your own nervous system. That's why a soothing voice can calm a baby. That's why yelling can startle an animal. That's why a mantra can change your state of consciousness. Because sound affects matter. In the science of cymatics, sound frequencies are used to shape sand into perfect geometric patterns. The higher the frequency, the more complex and beautiful the pattern becomes. Now imagine what your words, your vibrations, are doing to the structure of your own body, your organs, your brain, your cells. It's not woo, it's wavelength. You see, your voice is not just how you express thought, it's how you broadcast energy. Your tone, your rhythm, even your breath, all of it carries information, emotion, vibration. When you speak with anger, you don't just raise your voice, you raise your frequency into a dissonant state. When you whisper with love, your entire energy field softens, shifts, aligns. That's why the same words can have different effects depending on how they're said. A thank you with bitterness is just noise, but a thank you charged with sincerity becomes healing, almost sacred. The ancients didn't just choose words, they tuned them. They used chants, hymns, and sacred syllables to align with natural forces. Not because they were primitive, but because they understood something we've forgotten. That vibration is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between thought and form. And your language? It's the code that travels that bridge. So speak not just to be heard, but to harmonize, to resonate, to transform. Because the truth is, your voice is an instrument, and reality responds to how well it's tuned. Most people look at letters and see squiggles on a page, symbols, tools for spelling and grammar. But ancient civilizations looked at letters and saw something else entirely: power, energy, divine architecture. To the Egyptians, hieroglyphs weren't drawings, they were sacred blueprints, each one a doorway to deeper meaning. Their word for hieroglyphs actually translates to words of the gods. Writing wasn't just practical, it was mystical. In Hebrew mysticism, each letter is not just a sound, but a spiritual force. Aleph isn't just A, it represents unity, breath, the silent origin of creation. Bet isn't just B, it means house, the vessel of life. And together, they start the Torah, Bereshit, in the beginning. It's the same in Sanskrit. The syllables aren't just phonetic, they're energetic. Reciting them isn't about speech, it's about activation. Each letter is a seed sound, or bija, meant to awaken dormant energies within you. This isn't superstition, it's structure. Think of letters like musical notes. On their own, they hold tone and potential. But when arranged correctly, into words, phrases, chants, they become symphonies. Emotional, transformative, capable of moving mountains inside you. And here's the kicker. Even our modern alphabets carry echoes of this code. Just because we've stopped listening doesn't mean the frequency isn't there. The curves of the letters, the sound they produce, the rhythm of how we say them, all of it matters more than we think. Every name has a vibration, every affirmation, a signature frequency. Even your own name, it's not just what others call you, it's what you answer to energetically. That's why hearing it in a certain tone can trigger memories, emotions, or even shifts in behavior. You are more connected to language than you realize, not because you learned it, but because you're built from it. Letters are not dead ink, they are alive. Archetypes, activators, pieces of a hidden system we were never taught to understand. So the next time you write, the next time you speak, pause. Ask yourself, what am I activating? Because whether you know it or not, every syllable you release is either coding chaos or conjuring clarity. Here's something nobody teaches us in school. Language is software, and you are the hardware it runs on. Every phrase you repeat is like a script, a loop, a line of code that, once installed, starts running silently in the background, affecting how you think, feel, and even act. And like a computer that doesn't question its commands, your subconscious follows every line flawlessly. So when you say things like, "I'm not good enough," or "things never work out for me," you're not venting, you're not being humble. You're writing lines of code into your mental operating system. And once installed, they begin to define your emotional bandwidth, your energy, your decisions. Think about it. How many times have you said something like, "I'm so unlucky," without even realizing that you're scripting a future to match that sentence? We're all walking around, unknowingly casting spells, not with candles or rituals, but with repeated statements of identity. I am tired. I am broke. I am stuck. Those aren't just descriptions, they're commands, and your system obeys. Here's where it gets really deep. Other people's words can install programs in you too. Maybe someone once told you you'll never be successful, and part of you believed it. That line of code stayed. It embedded, and without meaning to, you began acting in ways that confirmed it. That's not fate, that's programming. But the good news, you can rewrite the script. Just like a programmer can delete or update a line of faulty code, you can update your internal language. You can replace "I always fail" with "I am learning to rise." You can upgrade "I don't deserve love" to "I am becoming love." And with enough repetition, spoken with energy, presence, and belief, the old code gets overwritten. Language isn't just a mirror, it's a keyboard. And every time you speak, you are typing out the next version of your life. So the real question is, are you the programmer of your mind, or just a user running outdated software? You speak thousands of words a day, but how many of them are yours? Not just words you've memorized or borrowed, but words you've consciously chosen. Words that align with who you're becoming, not who you were told to be. Because here's the truth. Most people aren't speaking, they're echoing. Echoing childhood scripts, cultural patterns, generational pain, reciting old programming with zero awareness, like actors stuck in a role they never auditioned for. But what if you stopped? What if you paused before speaking and asked, is this phrase empowering me or weakening me? Is it mine or something I was trained to say? That's the first step, awareness. The second step, intention. Language without intention is noise, but language infused with presence, that's art, that's magic, that's transformation. Every word you speak is an invitation, a vibration, a seed, and you get to choose whether you plant weeds or wildflowers in your own mind. This is why, in many ancient traditions, silence was considered just as powerful as speech, because in silence, you regain control of the signal. You stop broadcasting noise. You begin listening, not just to others, but to yourself. And when you do speak, you speak on purpose. No more, "I'm always messing up." No more, "This is just how I am." No more, "It is what it is." You start replacing those unconscious phrases with conscious ones. "I'm evolving. I'm learning how to rise. I choose to create something different." At first, it may feel awkward, like speaking a new language, but that's because it is a new language. One of freedom, one of authorship, one of sovereignty over your own internal dialogue. You are not a mouthpiece for the past. You are a mouthpiece for possibility. The moment you choose your words deliberately, you reclaim the most powerful tool you were ever given, not to describe life as it is, but to shape it as it could be. So how do you actually take this from concept to practice? Simple. You begin with one day, one full day of watching your words, not like a prison guard, but like a sculptor watching every stroke of the chisel. You don't speak out of habit. You speak from awareness. You begin the morning with an intention, not a to-do list, a to-be list. Say it aloud. I choose to speak with clarity. I choose to speak with power. I choose to speak from the future I want, not the past I survived. Then, as the day unfolds, become the observer. Catch yourself before the automatic phrases slip out. The sighing, "I can't." The deflated, "It's just one of those days." The tired, "That's just who I am." Stop, breathe, rephrase. Instead of "I'm overwhelmed," try "I'm learning to organize my energy." Instead of "I'm broken," say "I'm rebuilding." Instead of "This is hard," whisper "This is helping me grow." And don't just say it, feel it. Let the vibration of each phrase settle into your chest. Let your voice carry weight again, not from volume, but from presence. Throughout the day, speak slower, with more intention, with more silence in between, because in those pauses you'll hear something new, your own alignment catching up with your words. By the end of the day, you'll notice something subtle, but profound. A shift in your mood, a softness in your body, a sense of authorship in your experience. That's not magic, that's alignment. And it starts with the simplest practice in the world. Speak like it matters, because it does. What if you saw language not as a tool, but as a temple? What if every word you spoke was treated like fire, capable of warming or destroying? The truth is, we've wandered far from the sacredness of speech. We've replaced prayers with posts, mantras with memes. Our voices echo more than they create, but it's not too late to remember. You don't have to be a monk to speak mindfully. You don't have to be a mystic to bless your own life through language. You just have to slow down, to feel, to choose. And in doing so, something incredible begins to unfold. Words become bridges between your past and your potential, between your pain and your power, between who you've been and who you're becoming. When you say, I am, you're not just filling space, you're invoking a future. When you say, I believe, you're not just sharing thoughts, you're shaping energy. And when you say, I choose, you are reclaiming authorship over the only story that truly matters, your own. So as you leave this video, remember, your mouth is not just for communication. It's a portal, a tuning fork, a spellcaster. Speak with reverence, speak with love, speak like the universe is listening, because it is. And from this day forward, may every word you utter carry the weight of your awakening.